So traders, I've been doing some analysis today and I'm getting ready for another big week, but I want to share something with you that's really amazing because we're looking at the inflation, we're looking at like history, and I've been doing a lot of study on the past of like, we know that similar things have happened in the past and they're going to keep repeating. So I'm going to share something with you that I believe is probably going to be one of the greatest investments we can make moving forward. Let's get straight into it. Don't place a trade based on what you'll see in this video because there is no guarantees of making a profit in the market. It takes you a long time to become a good trader. So this video here is just to educate you to become a much better trader. Alrighty traders. I'm running a webinar. I'm going to be teaching you the 3 secrets to making a good income. I'm going to be teaching you my #1 trading system, how I scan the markets, my scanning, and also the biggest thing that I had to learn to actually become a good trader. First link in the description, guys. Go get access to that webinar. Now, I've been doing some analysis on looking at all the markets, right? Now, here's what a smart investor does. The smart investor does, okay, the smart investor says, okay, let's go back in history. Now, this is investing, okay, guys? This is not trading. Trading is all about, okay, I'm looking for patterns on the charts. I'm looking for entry signals. I have my stop loss. I have my profit targets, you know, that sort of stuff, okay? That's what trading for income is. If you are trading for income, again, that's what the webinar really is all about. If you're looking to make income from the markets, that's what the webinar is all about because I teach you my trading system and so on and so forth. But I also have my longer term stuff going on as well too. So I've been doing some research and some analysis, and the big thing that I've been really focusing on is, okay, where are we right now? And let's actually go back in history. Let's go back in history to say, okay, where is this very, very, very similar, right? Because if we go back in history, and I was watching the Hidden Secrets of Money, Mike Maloney's recently again. I was also watching I've also been watching a lot of Ray Dalio stuff and reading a lot of Ray Dalio stuff. And the thing is there's nothing new in history, right? It might be new in our lifetimes, as Ray Dalio says, new in our lifetimes, but things have happened again and again and again and again. And people do the same things under the same circumstances, so therefore the same outcomes is likely to happen. Let me say that again. Something hasn't happened in our lifetimes, but it's happened in the past. It's happened before our lifetimes, right? But the thing is that people do the same thing under the same circumstances, almost every single time. So if we go back in history and we say, okay, let's have the last couple of 100 years, let's see where we are right now and what's happening right now and where are we headed? And so what's the cause? What's really happening? And so therefore, if where we are right now is very, very similar to a time in the past, which is, to me, is the 70s, right? 70s is the inflation. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. Then, okay, what was the greatest investment to buy and hold back then in the 70s? Because we're just looking for probabilities, right? Now, there's obviously no certainties around this, but, I'm looking for the probabilities out of these markets here. So when I went back to the 70s, and as we know, the 70s was the inflation, and we know the inflation is not going away, okay? So what's likely to happen? And if we actually look at the inflation, the inflation numbers, or the inflation that actually happened, the inflation that actually happened back in the 70s, let me just bring this up for you here right now, okay? Because I want to share this with you because I think it's going to really help you moving forward if you're looking for some really good investments and give you some good ideas. So when we're looking at, this is obviously the inflation. Let's go to maximum here. So if we go back to the 70s, let's actually look at what the inflation number did, but what was actually the cause behind that, and therefore why is it very, very, very similar to what we're going to see right now? Okay, so firstly, this is the if I zoom in, I'm going to zoom right in on the actual 70s part here. Is it going to allow me to do this without? No, it's not, is it? I'm just trying to zoom in. So I'll just do that through. There we go. There we go. Okay, cool. So this thing is, so we can see here, this here was the 1970s right here, right? This is the 1960s, this is the 1980s, this is the 1970s, okay? So you can see we actually had a little bit of a deflationary period. Very, very, very similar to the COVID, right? Start of this decade was what? Actually deflationary period. And then we did what? A massive, massive spring, right? We had a massive spring in the markets, and then they did a lot of, QE and so on and so forth. And guess what happened? The inflation started. Very, 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 very similar to what actually is happening right now, right? The inflation got going and it went off and it took off and away we went, right? We had a lot of inflation because of that. But then guess what happened? We had this deflationary, because there was inflation, and then there was a period through there for a couple of years where it went through what? Deflation. Now, firstly, we had a deflationary period, but what caused this here to bottom out, the inflation, to then go for another big inflation to go through another high? Now, by the way, guys, as this unfolds over this next 10 years, or the rest of this decade, wherever we peak out here, because we are going to peak out, we are going to go see a deflationary period, right? We're going to go into a recession. Recession is going to cause the deflation, and that's what's probably going to cause this through here, right? So we are going to do that. But just to keep in mind, if say we go up to 10, okay, and then we eventually pull back for a couple of years, when we do start the ascent, just keep in mind that we're likely to surpass the next deflation. Now, this here is going to be on the other side of, say, 2025 and beyond. That's what's going to happen on that side. Okay, that's that next leg in inflation. Okay, so we can see here. But what caused this here? Cause was what? After the deflation, after the recession period, after the deflationary period, massive amounts of QE came back in to reflate everything. Now, by the way, traders, when this happens, when the deflationary happens and we start to get massive amounts of QE, what's likely to happen to all asset prices? We're going to go through what? We're going to go through exactly the same thing we did back in COVID. So please keep that in mind as we go through the next couple of years, because when you start to hear, yes, things are really, really bad, stay calm, remove those emotions, and start to look at things from a logical point of view, because when they do the QE package, which is going to be 3 to 4 times bigger than they did back in COVID, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be one of the greatest buying opportunities of a lifetime for a short period of time, okay? Just like COVID, right? COVID was a great buying opportunity for a good 12 months plus after they announced that big massive, because things are going to be, we're going to see a massive, incredible boom, okay? Because of the inflation, but then on the other side of that, that's when debt defaults, restructuring, and so on and so forth happen. Make sense? So the whole purpose of bringing this up here is because if we're likely to see, okay, we're going back in time to a very similar time to where we are right now, which is the 70s. What happened in the 70s? Because the same things happen again and again and again. People do the same things. People do the same things under the same circumstances. Because we're just humans, right? We never change. We think this is new, right? Because we're in the moment. We're doing something. Oh man, this is the best I can do, but it's the same thing. So therefore, we can actually sort of see the future. Gives us a high probability of what's going to happen in the future. Now, if we go back to the 70s and we see this, what was the greatest investment in the 70s at that time? Now you probably know what I'm talking about here, right? It was what? It was gold. Now. Gold and also / now mining sector, okay? Gold / mining sector. Because if gold takes off, guess what's going to happen to the mining stocks, especially the gold junior stocks? I believe one of the greatest investments is going to be, one of the greatest returns is going to be the GDXJ. For you guys who have been following me for a while, you know that I've always said that. Because if gold takes off, imagine what the mining sector is going to do as well too. The mining sector is going to go absolutely just crazy to the upside. I'm very, very excited about that. So, but if we go back to, this is actually the chart here on gold, and this is actually a weekly chart on gold. But look at this here, all right? What do you think? What's this big spike here? What's out there? Oh, that's what? That's towards the end of the 70s, right? The end of the 70s. So when I'm looking at these markers, look at this here. So we actually had a little bit of a rise from early 72, right? And we had a little bit of a rise. Now this is a weekly chart, remember guys, and this is years. 72, 73, 74, 75, and so on and so forth, right? So we had a period of massive, of movement up, and then we had a few years or more of gold not doing much. So maybe gold is just going to continue doing this again. Maybe gold, we're in this phase now where we've already been through, we've already been through almost 2 years of gold. Maybe gold's going to continue not doing much for another 12 months. But what's likely to happen eventually, I do believe, if the same things, if we're going to get a rhyming effect, right? People say, history doesn't rhyme, but history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. if we're going to get a rhyming effect, what's likely to happen if we wanted to put some money to buy and hold for the rest of this for a long term, and hop on the train whenever that train moves, because we never know when the train's going to start. But when it starts, we get going. I do believe it's going to be gold. Now, guys, if you are struggling with your trading right now and you're finding it hard and you're finding it difficult, you're a bit confused about what's going on, book a coaching call with me. Go to johnscoachingcall.com. That's JOHNS, johnscoachingcall.com. When you go over there, I'm going to give you also 90% off my normal price for a coaching call. And I'm also going to throw in a $2,000 complete educational program to help you get started as well too. So go there right now if you'd like to get some more one-on-one help. But the thing is here, guys, is that we can see here, right, this is actually what's likely to happen with gold. And so therefore this here, now that doesn't look like much, but if you can see from when it actually bottomed in 1977, and 1, 2, 3 years later, look what happened. It went from like 150. Now, if we're looking at that from a percentage point of view, right? From say this point here to that point there, we're looking at over 750% return in that period. And that's what actually happened back in the 70s. So therefore, that's what I believe we're likely to see moving forward in the market. So if I go to things like, and if I look at gold right now, so that's actually what's happened there. But let me show you what I'm seeing right now from an actual big picture technical point of view, and why things may be lining up the way that we're seeing this. So I've been doing some analysis on the big picture. We're looking at gold weekly chart right now, but this is a different type of chart. Let me bring this up to here. Where are we here? Scaling, right? I've put it on logarithmic. See, it says scale type. I put it on logarithmic. I normally have it on arithmetic. All right, this is just logarithmic. I'm not going to get into the details here, but it's just a different scaling of the markets. Okay, so that's the reason why you've got it here. So I'm looking at gold, and look what gold's been doing. Gold's been doing what? If I squeeze my weekly charts up a bit more, look at this here. All right. Notice how we've got these major trend lines coming into play right now. So we're coming up through here, and we've also got this major sort of trend line coming through here as well too. Sort of this whole area through here. You can see that was the major support levels through there in the past. And then we also had, and then all I did is I created the parallel trend line and I just adapted it, right? So you can see here, see how this is the exact same angle? All I did is create a parallel trend line, and now I've just brought it up. But then I can see the exact same angle it had a little bit of rejection there, support there, and notice, look at all the support on this angle, and then we're at that point right now. I'm not saying it's going to definitely hold right now. We could actually come back down to this other trend line, but look what's actually building through here. We're starting to build a massive over a few year period. Remember I said before, maybe you saw before, like with the 70s, right? 70s, we actually spent 2 to 3 years going sideways before the market actually just went absolutely just burko. Maybe that's what we're doing right now. Maybe, again, this is a weekly chart with gold, but look at this here. Nice ascending, squeezing up pattern through here. Weekly chart. So we may spend another 12 months doing this. And then when it breaks, oh my goodness, guys, this thing is just going to go absolutely crazy. Now, you look at that, and again, if that happens, which on a technical big picture basis, that's what's building right now, right? Big long-term technical basis. We just look at the fundamentals. Now we're actually looking at the technicals as well too. So if we go have a look at gold right now, like we had a look at gold, but look at the GOD, because the GOD gives me a lot more data. As you can see here, the actual gold chart on this software only gives me back to say 2011. But if I bring up the GOD price and squeeze it up, I can actually go back to 2005, and it gives me a bit more data in their markets. And this is what I'm noticing with the long-term picture here with the GLD price. We can see here that obviously we had this major starting point down the bottom here, okay? And you can see how we've got this point through here. But this is the exact same angle. Once again, see what I did there? I just created the exact same angle, and all I was doing is I'm not looking to fudge it. I'm just trying to see does that angle represent anything in the markets on the big picture? Because the fascinating thing that I've learned about trading now, going on almost 18 years trading the markets, is the fascinating thing is trend lines that were forming, 10 years ago, long-term major significant support levels come into play like right now. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so amazing how these trend lines come into play. And you guys may know what I'm talking about, right? You may bring up a chart of a weekly chart, look at the last 20 years, and you're like, oh my goodness, look at this here. There's a trend line there back 5 years ago. And then look what happened just recently. It just bounced off it. It's amazing how how it works. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because we can look at this here. We had all this resistance point 3, but look at all this long-term support through here. We had the rejection. We had that was obviously the COVID drop, and now we're getting towards these points where we are right now. We're not there yet exactly, but we could be getting what? We could be coming down to this level through here, which is which this whole area through here. If we do get a bit of a drop, this whole area through here is going to be significant support. Now, as you can see, look what's happening. So even if we do hold here for a bit, you know, and we start to do this, guess what? I'm getting ready for something like that. Because once that happens, guys, we're likely to start to see gold absolutely just go crazy. When we start to break above, say, 190 on the GLD price, then I believe the fireworks are going to be absolutely just crazy. Now, we never know when that's going to happen. We may, and that's where this is investment opportunity is all about. Me just like, then if I'm going to put some money here, I'm going to buy and hold for the next. My view, you know, I'd rather, and I do own gold as in long-term investment than actual property right now. I think property is just way overpriced. Property's just gone nuts. And so therefore it's not been my thing. I see much, from now through 2030, if I had to buy a piece, if I could choose between one really good piece of property or gold, I'm going to choose gold, because even if my property goes up 100%, guess what? Gold is probably likely to, you know, we're probably likely to see a 4,000 or 5,000 print by the end of the year, maybe even higher. If what actually happened back in the 70s, and if we actually did do that, you know, if we did start to do that, you know, that 100% return or whatever that was back in the 70s, let's actually bring up the price. Because what was that, 700% since the bottom? So if we go back to this I'll bring up the actual gold price now. If we actually go to that 700%, sort of, let's actually just, we'll go from the actual bottom point through here, right? So that there from, if I go from the actual low point through here, if I'm looking at 700% return, and this, I know this sounds crazy, guys, but that's exactly what actually happened back in the 70s, right? And if similar things happen, 700% return from the actual major bottom, which I'm being ultra low, from the ultra low from back in the 70s to a 700% return. That's up there at 9,000. And if it's going to get to 9,000, we're probably going to see a 10,000 print. I know that sounds crazy, guys, but again, if things, and especially on the other side of this decade, when the currency crisis happens, you can see the reason why people are going to probably flock to gold and why gold's probably going to do that. And if that happens, imagine what the gold mining sector is going to do at that time. Now, not all gold stocks, guys, not all gold stocks. When I say the gold mining sector, I mean the GDXJ market itself, okay? The GDXJ, not the stocks in the GDXJ, because not all stocks are going to do really well. Some stocks are going to do amazing well. It's going to be the mining boom, right? The mining boom. And then we're going to see, and also the GDX as well too. That's what I'm seeing through there. But if I go back to this GOD chart, once again, you can see how we've just been, these lines have been squeezing up. It's gone back to since 2005. And we may spend another 12 months doing this, guys. But for long-term investments, I really do see that once this break, I believe we're about to see one of the greatest bull markets. You think crypto was big. Wait until you see this. Traders, I want to invite you to my webinar that I'm running today. And on this webinar, I'm going to share with you all the details to my #1 trading system for the last 17 years and how I only trade 1 hour per day. Plus, also going to be learning the 3 secrets that I had to master over the last 17 years to generate a really good income. If you go to johnsfreetraining.com, or there should be a link in the description, click on that. Go over there right now, register. If you are struggling with the trading right now, I promise you this is going to completely game change, because you're going to understand why you are going backwards and why you're losing money. And then I'm going to teach you exactly what the system I use that gets me a really high % win-loss ratio. So this is what I want you to do right now. Go to johnsfreetraining.com. Go over there, register for my webinar right now today, because you're going to absolutely love it. Or there should be a link in the description. And I look forward to seeing you on the webinar. So go to that right now, and I look forward to seeing you on my next webinar. Go to that right now. Go to johnsfreetraining.com. Go to that right now.